Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this first day of October. We had baseball playoffs here. I've been working on the program. I haven't even looked at some of the scores here in the Major League playoffs here. I know the Mets are winning 8-4. Just like the kudos to the Tigers, Royals, all picking up wins there in the American League. Another Braves will play the Padres here in about 30 minutes or so. Got a great show with you for tonight. However, talk about last night's games. Detroit got a good soundbite there. Dan Campbell goes viral again. He gave the game ball. He gave 3 game balls. One he gave to Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator there. And also a few thoughts on Mason Rudolph taking over there at Tennessee for Will Levis, who got a shoulder injury in the Monday night game. Plus, I'll give you my Power 5. Here. It's a little bit of a surprise. And Devontae Adams, not really a shocker. Now he wants out of Vegas. He wants to get away from the Raiders. And I've got a few thoughts on the passing of Pete Rose. Remember, I did a show on him earlier this year. It's like maybe they knew something was going down with Pete Rose, and there was a long documentary on HBO. It's really good on Pete Rose, who passed away last night at the age of 83. Thoughts and prayers with his family. You know, I always say that. But anyways, let's take our first and only break here. I'll be back here shortly. We'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
Alrighty, then I'm back here live, folks. So last night, Detroit played great, 42-29. You like to see the defense be a little bit better here. I'm going to give you my Power 5, and I'm going to tell you right now, they're in it. Are they perfect? No. Do they have some things they need to clean up, particularly on the defensive end? Yes. But I will say this. Like a lot of the teams, like 3 of the 4 in the NFC North, I do believe, and I say 3 of the 4, I do not believe that the Bears fully buy into Matt Eberflus. They don't. I don't see that continuity with Eberflus and this team. As far as Minnesota, absolutely, both sides. Green Bay, 110%, youngest team in the league, and they're clicking. But this Detroit team here, we criticized them. Week 2, Tampa Bay lost there, and for throwing the ball too much, not running it. You've got to get Jared Goff's pass attempts down from 55. Last night, Jared Goff was 18 of 18, not a single incompletion there. That's the recipe for success. Maybe not that little in a normal game, 22-25. You want to keep that under 30, folks. You definitely don't want to be throwing every other down. And you could tell that Dan Campbell was proud of the balance there, the running game. I want to say, I said this, Jahmyr Gibbs. I've said this in the offseason. I thought that Jahmyr Gibbs there, the running back, could have an MVP level season. 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't all that. Don't get me wrong. But they got 26 carries out of both running backs. Pretty good performance there. Seattle's one of the better defenses in the league, folks, particularly against the run. They were undefeated, a powerhouse defensively. But let's I've got a video here. This was post-game, went viral, like a lot of the Dan Campbell videos. And I do believe that all 53, including the coaching staff, truly buy in. Unlike Matt Patricia, the former coach there at Detroit. Listen to this, folks, and I'll be back here shortly, and we'll talk about it as soon as I get down here to it.
Hey, man, it feels good to win again. All right, man, we talked about 1 week, man. All in for 1 to get us to 3. It's outstanding. The best thing we're doing right now, man, this game was so evident. Man, we didn't quite get going offensively. Defense, you come out and you stick it to them, man. Get it right back, and now all of a sudden we're up like we wanted to start the game. And it just went back and forth that way. It really did, man. Offense, we needed you. You stepped up. Defense, when we needed it, we needed to stop. Curb, you come up with a huge play. Good teams complement each other, man. I'm proud of you. That's a good win. And you don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Man, you just win the one in front of you. And then you just start lining them up and knocking the next one off. That's what you do. It's a good win, gentlemen. All right, I got 3 game balls. Ben Johnson, let's go, man. I'm going to pray to God that this player played an outstanding game start to finish because I'm about to give him this game ball. Okay? I saw a couple of blocks that were outstanding, man, throwing his body. And then when they cover 0 our ass, 70-yard touchdown right through the defense.
Yes,
J-Mo!
Let's go, man. We good. Days off, we come back, we gonna get on Dallas, man. Let's go.
You talk about finishing the game, man. We don't have to deal with anything else. Onside kick, going back on the field. Kirby, that's a hell of a
I just want to thank God, bro, and I love y'all boys. I cannot do this without y'all, man.
I want to thank God. I can't do it without you. Yeah, he really is the big Lebowski there. He looked like he was coming out of a 3-point stance. My only criticism of Dan Campbell has always been the same thing. Don't let your emotions override you when you are the head coach or you're the administrator there. You're supposed to be the cool dude under fire. In other words, when you're in a situation where it's 4th and short, and you really just need to kick the field goal. It's the first half. Go ahead and take the points. Just take the 3 points, man. It's take the 3 points. You can't go for it every single down. Hopefully he's got that by now. But you notice that he gave the ball to the offensive coordinator. He's called well of a game since that loss to Tampa at home. We found out Tampa's pretty good. They mopped up on Philadelphia this past week. So it's a really good win there for them, and we'll see it keep going. That is one of the most interesting divisions to keep up with. Know that this Minnesota team is running roughshod on everybody. Minnesota, and I'll go over them here in just a minute when I do the Power 5. 3 straight wins over playoff opponents. That's why he says, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. We got to worry about this game, one game at a time. One game at a time. And all that with him is 110%, 110% authentic, and he does look like the guy that is a that can win some bowling tournaments. Pickle says Seattle had a 42-year-old right tackle today, lost their 2 starters. Yeah. Jason Peters, I think they brought him on their practice squad, which he's pretty good. They look good, even though they did. They gave up a lot of points there. Seattle's not a bad team, folks. They've got 3 receivers that can get open. This Jason Smith-Njigba there. Of course, you've got Lockett. And, of course, you've got DK Metcalf, the big star there, who had over 100 yards. These guys are tough to beat. I mean, looking back there, Geno Smith, that's the Geno Smith I know. 56 completion attempts. You're not going to win too many games throwing that many times. I don't care who you are. Maybe Tom Brady. 56 attempts, 38 for 56, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 3 sacks there. QBR 63. Kenneth Walker, though, got his 12 carries for 80 yards, 3 touchdowns there. But DK Metcalf, 7 for 104. Jason Smith-Njigba, 8 for 51, 5 for 61 for Tyler Lockett. They got a good team. They're just a quarterback away. There's only so much that you can do with a guy like a Geno Smith. He's okay. He's manageable, but he's not a franchise guy. He's just a bridge guy. He's just there to take you to the franchise guy, if you ask me. Okay? All righty then. Now, we had another game last night, and I got to talk about it. It was on the horizon. It was, and by the way, I don't know about you all, but I do not like these games where you have 2 football games competing with each other. Who is running things at ABC to think that it's a good idea to put one game on at 7 p.m. Central or whatever, 6 p.m. Central, 6:30 or whatever, and then an hour later put another game on and let those 2 games compete with each other? And what annoys me even more than that is when you watching the game, you're trying to see everything to this one particular game, and another team like Detroit, you could see them in a small box in the red zone about to score. Like, if I wanted to watch the other game, I would flip back over. If you want to say red zone alert for the Lions, then you'd switch back over. You don't want to have that box here, and you're missing part of this game. It's just idiotic for them to put that on there. I just, the NFL, I just don't know what they're thinking there. That's just not a good idea. Thursday night's not a good idea. Having games at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock Central is not a good idea on Sunday morning. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just make it a primetime game. Make it a primetime game. It's 3 o'clock Eastern in the UK when they play these games. Okay, but I'm getting off on a tangent here. So Mason Rudolph took over for Will Levis last night. who hurt his shoulder, diving just like I said he was doing. He was trying to be Superman, diving out full for a first down, full body exposed, landed on his shoulder, hurt his shoulder. Don't know to what extent, but they just, the coaches won't tell you nothing until they absolutely have to. And Mason Rudolph comes in, and all of a sudden the running game gets better, and he starts completing basic passes, okay? And it's not just me, Brian Baldinger, who breaks. And I tried to get this video up and loaded on the show, but I couldn't get it done on here. But I just wanted to, but I wanted to comment on it anyway. So Brian Baldinger, former NFL offensive lineman, he puts out certain plays, Baldy's plays, picks or whatever. I think he's with the NFL Network, and he puts them on his social media. I follow him on the X out, and he also has a TikTok account, but he didn't put this one on his TikTok account, but I would have had it downloaded. But basically what he was saying was same formation, same defensive look, same formation by the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis takes the snap and looks 1,000, 1,000. The play is developing, and Baldinger says this is where you're supposed to throw at in the zone. He was supposed to hit the tight end across the middle. The guy was open. It could have been a 5 to 6 yard play, put you in second short. Instead, he runs and then extends his body. It wasn't quite second down, but he extends his body, then he hurts his shoulder on the sideline. He says, same formation, defense is playing zone, which means they're not covering individual man. They're just covering space there. The defense is spread out through space, and they're just there to cover a specific area. So let's see what let me get the exact quote from what he said on this. Here he is. Okay. Titans, a tale of two quarterbacks. One hesitates to make the throw. The other one makes a quick, smart decision. One is learning on the job. The other one has enough experience to keep a drive alive from the pocket, and it shows them in the same look there. Good call there by the former NFL offensive lineman. Now, of course, today, Ryan Callahan says there's absolutely no quarterback controversy. When Levis is healthy, he'll be the quarterback. Now, I've heard that 1,000 times in the NFL, maybe more, right? But are you there to develop this quarterback? Or are you there to win games? I don't know. I would be more inclined to win games. I mean, this guy has got now eight turnovers, I want to say. 8 turnovers, including one last night, and less than 4 games. Because what did he play? 1 quarter? Not even the first quarter. He's got 8. That's 2 a game. That is Jameis Winston territory. You do not win having that many turnovers in a game. Now, he's done some good things. I get it. But I don't know if the owner's pressing him to do this. Now, of course, Ron Carthon, he's the general manager. He's the one that selected Will Levis. Is he pressing Brian Callahan to do this? I don't know. Callahan's a very young coach here. He's not even 40 years old. This is his first head coaching job. You just wonder how much power does he really have to say what he really thinks is this guy's not getting what we're saying. It's not getting what we're saying. I do know that watching a college game, which I'm going to comment on tomorrow before John Restano comes on 30 minutes into the hour, that it looks like we've got some pretty decent quarterback play in the college game. One being Jalen Monroe, Alabama. Mel Kiper says his stock is going way up. The other one is Schroeder Sanders, believe it or not. Really good game against UCF on the road last week as well. He's making some he is making a lot of additions there. corrections per se on his footwork. So I'm saying all that, but to say this, I know Mason Rudolph is not a franchise quarterback, but you're there to win games at some point, you know. And if you got a guy that's screwing up as much as Levis is, what are you there for? You know, what are you there for? Like I said at the beginning, play this guy more in the preseason if you want to develop more. You know, I'm so sick and tired of saying, well, if you get him hurt and you do this and that, you know, you're there to develop the guy. You know, if you know he needs the reps, get him the reps, you know. So we'll see how that works out. Maybe he's just talking, Callahan. Maybe that if you're a Titans fan, hopefully that they cautiously hold out Will Levis for a few games, and the Titans go on a winning streak once they come back off this bye week coming up this weekend. You know, Pickle says Levis is a show pony. It takes Rudolph any day. I'll take Rudolph any day. I mean, yeah, he's posing on the sideline. He looks like he's being dramatic about his throws. You know, it's really ridiculous. That's what I heard about Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes, they let him set a year. I'm okay with the guy set last year, most of the season. Then he comes in about half the season, 9 games. I know new system, new everything. I get it. He has one good game, the very first game, and then he falls off a truck after that. He has not had a good game since that first game against Atlanta last year. You know, I mean, he had a decent game against Miami last year, but Miami basically gave the game away last year. They was just turning the ball over, and Titans defense took advantage of it, you know? So I don't see anything really to build, is what the film's saying, on what Levis is doing. And the particular throw that Baldinger talked about wasn't this big comeback route on the corner of the sideline that only a Joe Burrow can make, or I don't know, a Stafford or somebody like that, an experienced Pro Bowl level quarterback. It's a basic, I don't know what you want to call it. Not even a slant, maybe a post across the middle, a quick out to the tight end. You know, it wasn't nothing really extravagant about the throw. The guy just couldn't make the throw, you know? So that's what really hurts coaches nowadays, because you can't BS the public like you used to, because you got social media. You've got videos coming on social media, like a Brian Baldinger saying, listen, these guys look like crap, you know? Player X is making this throw. Player Y cannot make this throw, okay? Go with player Y. Go with player Y. Forget about what you're paying, what you're trying to prove and everything. Let's go with this guy. Now, maybe Mason Rudolph comes in and looks like the Mason Rudolph we know from the Steelers and throws a couple interceptions, and you put Levis back in there. I don't know. But I know one thing, this defense, Jim Wyatt put that out today, the guy that's covered a team for 25 years, 30 years. The team's back to being number 1 in total yards allowed. Now, I understand they was going against Tyler Huntley, a guy they signed off of waiver wires, off the practice squad. He's only been on there a week, you know. So who knows how good this team really is. I do know the defense is legit. They're a little bit overly aggressive sometimes. They need a little help at linebacker. Other than that, T'Vondre Sweat, Baldinger, the same guy, very good player there in the middle. Tennessee got a very good player in the second round to go opposite of what is his name? Jeffrey Simmons, who's recovering from I think they said Tommy John-like surgery, some kind of elbow surgery here. But I want to make sure that's what it was. But it was something in regards to that. But it's not as bad where he's going to be totally, you know, out of it, where he's not going to be out for a whole year. He may be back in a few weeks. It's something similar to that per se. So this team's got good players. You know, you went up and got rid of L'Jarius Sneed, or brought in guys like L'Jarius Sneed. You signed guys like Calvin Ridley. You signed, was it Quandre Diggs, who made a great – did you see that play, Pickles? Quandre Diggs, he ran down Tyreek Hill and slung him out of bounds before he can cut that corner. Great play by Quandre Diggs there at the safety play. I like that linebacker they got there from San Diego, or from the Chargers there. So they've got some players on defense, and quite frankly, they drafted well on offense as far as like Richard was saying, Rich Ferris the other day, the left tackle there. J.C. Latham is playing pretty well, and so is Sonorski. He's not played well lately, but he didn't play well in Green Bay, but he played well on Sunday or on Monday, and he's played well earlier in the season, and that was pointed out on Monday Night Football. Yeah, Quandre Diggs can fly. That was the play of the day defensively. Running down Tyreek Hill like that and sling him out of bounds. That was a well of a play there. I noticed that Hill wasn't crying about his surgery when he got blasted by Diggs like he was when that cop was trying to get him to sit down on the curb. I noticed once the body cam came out, I noticed Tyreek Hill got real quiet. He realized that he was a total jerk in that traffic stop there. But it was a good win for Tennessee. Again, go with what you know. Just win, baby. Just win. I mean, development year, part of that year was last year. You know, I mean, so we can't just say we got to keep him in here and do all this with Levis. I just don't like the guy's attitude. I just hope they can move off of him and get another quarterback next year and just be patient. You know, that's just my opinion, but, you know, who cares? I mean, it is what it is at this point. All righty then. In other news, funny story. Okay, so Pickle says Will Levis has a false total phony. He still got a shot at 1-16. Yeah. Go ahead and get that first overall pick. Now, like I said yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins, I would be trading him before that November 5th deadline ended, even if it was on November 5th itself, before 3 o'clock Eastern or whatever, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. I would move him and try to get that pick back from Kansas City. I think you're going to immediately, especially if they finish really bad at like 2-15 or 1-16, something like that. You're going to need that because, I mean, plus, you know, Chiefs, hell, they got two third-round picks. So, and especially if Tennessee still got some cap room left to go ahead and eat some of that money just for that pick back, they would be cooking with gas, like my dad would say. Speaking of receivers, not to say I told you so, but to say I told you so, okay? Davante Adams, a funny story this morning. This is typical Raiders. This is typical dysfunctional franchise. But part of me, I know what Jim Jeffcoat said. Yes. By the way, I'm going to try to get Jim back on here in the next 2 weeks or so. I'm going to try to get Philly Sports Guy back on. Try to get Jim Jeffcoat back on. Mike Richmond from D.C., try to get him back on and talk a little bit Jalen Daniels, okay? D.C. writer, very smart guy. Try to get him back on. But remember, Jim said, though, if you've been watching the show for a while, said he's alumni of Arizona State. Said he didn't care for what Antonio Pierce done with some of his recruiting shenanigans that got Herm Edwards? Herm Edwards in trouble, notably. I don't know if he's fired or quit or whatever. That ended his stint there at Arizona State. But I do like what he's doing as a coach. As a coach, this team they're buying in. They're physical. And they had a lot of injuries last week. I mean, they don't have a starting quarterback. They got Aiden O'Connell and they've got Gardner Minshew, you know. But they're a no-nonsense team. It doesn't look like last year it was a fluke. It doesn't look like that was a total fluke last year, if you ask me, with them beating him being the interim coach and them beating the Chiefs there on Christmas Day. They look pretty physical, and they air quote they buy in, like I just mentioned with Dan Campbell. But I say all this because Davante Adams, Antonio Pierce liked an Instagram post that said Davante Adams has played his last game with the Raiders. And you know, social media is, if a coach account likes something like that and it gets out, every reporter around the NFL is going to jump on that and say, look what he did. Look what he did. There's been rumors since last year that Adams wanted out. You know, he had the issue where he pushed the guy over and he got in a little bit of trouble there. I think there was some kind of lawsuit there and settled it when they blew the big lead. I think it was last year or year before. I think it was just last year. They blew the big lead to the Kansas City Chiefs, if you recall Monday Night Football there. And so later on, Antonio Pierce liked the Instagram post. Then later on, Adams let it be known that he wanted to be traded. He requested to be traded from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, he will be 32 later on this year. I want to say December. On Christmas Eve. I mean, the guy's a well-level player, but, you know, in Rappaport, then ESPN reported that the Raiders now want a second-round pick with additional compensation for Davante Adams. Now, so I was looking at Spot Track. Davante, if they trade him today, that is a $13 million cap hit. Somebody's got to pay it. Somebody's got to pay it. If they trade him by the deadline on November 5th, that Monday or Tuesday, that deadline, it's $8.6 million. He's got contract $36 million next year, $36 million in 2026, non-guaranteed though. So that's the good news. That's the good news if you are wanting to get Davante Adams. Now, Josina Anderson, she's a longtime NFL reporter. She's covered NFL for CBS and whatnot. I think she's independent now. She puts out leaked sources from two notable teams, one in the NFC, by the way, two notable teams claim Davante Adams chime in on Davante Adams' potential availability. One of these teams, it's always about the money this time of year, tells her the stars would have to be aligned and Vegas would have to eat some of that salary there for it to work. This team has not been contacted yet. They've conveyed some doubt that Vegas would have interest in what they would offer. The other team, she says, doubt it, has been discussed yet. $16 million with $25 million cap hit in additional general numbers assessed. So money as an obvious concern with this team, however you slice it. Heard from another team, she says, move on that later. Right now, just tapping in the early vibes. That's what she put on her X account. So I told you, this is going to be a very difficult move for the Raiders. I don't know if they can get a second round pick for Adams. They might be able to. I brought that up. I was thinking about that for a Hopkins, and I thought, no, that's probably a little rich for a guy at post 30, not unless he's all world Jerry Rice type of shape and don't have the diva mentality. So that's part of the dilemma, and as I mentioned before, I knew right then when this move was made, I knew this was going to be a really good move here, favoring the the Green Bay Packers, and people don't, well, they offered him this and that. That was a blessing in disguise, not getting this wide receiver. I've said this before in the past, addition by subtraction. Now, Adams is not Diggs, but a lot of these guys turned into divas. I'm telling you. But it was addition by subtraction for the Bills getting rid of Stephon Diggs. And plus they got some draft compensation. You do not want an agent diva wide receiver on a team that's already paid the quarterback a bunch of money. You don't want an agent diva wide receiver on any team, but especially on a team that's got cap issues with your quarterback as well. You see what I'm saying? So, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the dead horse one more time, okay? The Packers, let's revisit this thing. Those picks that the Packers picked up, Quay Walker, linebacker, is all over the field for Green Bay. This guy's quick. He's an open field tackling machine. They got him at the 22nd pick. And also, they end up getting Christian Watson at 34. Now, Watson, arguably the most talented player as that receiving core, but he has had some health issues. He has not stayed healthy a whole season, but he can play. He can play. And because I think Jaden, I think his name is Jaden Daniels. You got a Jaden Daniels, then you got a Jalen Daniels that plays quarterback for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is that really quick receiver there. They got Pickles. They got in the later rounds that can run like the wind blows. He's starting to emerge as their number one. You can use him in the backfield and everything. That dude is quick as a cat. Watson's a better pure wide receiver, Christian Watt, but Watson has had some health problems. But the biggest issue is these guys are on rookie contracts and they can play. And they can play. They're a portion of that $25 to $30 million that one wide receiver makes there in Davante Adams. So it is a home run for Green Bay and was a home run for the Kansas City Chiefs, who have now got 2 Super Bowl rings since Davante Adams has been moved over to the Miami Dolphins. Of course, now they need another receiver. The Chiefs would love to get this guy, but they're not going to trade him in division, even though it's not as unheard of as it has been before. We know that T.J. Hockenson was traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and of course later the Lions ended up getting Sam Laporta, and Hawkinson's been hurt. It looks like they actually won that trade there with Detroit. But anyway, so NFC teams, it may make some sense. May, keyword may. And like Josina Anderson said, somebody's going to have to, and I already brought that up with Tennessee about Hopkins. You want that pick, you're going to have to eat some of that contract for this year to basically buy that pick. That's a little NBA stuff right there, kind of buy the contract. But anyways, Atlanta. Now, Atlanta, big win last week. Atlanta looks to be, now that things are settling down, I knew that the Saints had an older team, They've got some young pieces, but overall they're an older team, and they're starting to show their age. But Atlanta, they could really use a guy like a Davante Adams opposite of Drake London and put Mooney as a 3, put Mooney in the slot. That would make them a really powerful, offense there. And of course, I mentioned the Saints too. Somebody opposite of Olave, a veteran opposite of him to help out of Derek Carr, possibly. They're right in the thick of things here. Like I said, I know Washington can use them, but I doubt they want to mess with their chemistry with their young quarterback. 80% completion percentage for Daniels. Not sure how long that's going to hold up, but they like what they got with McLaurin and that group there up in Washington. Pittsburgh could use them. I know Pittsburgh went after Brandon Ayuk, but that was a young player in his prime. I seriously doubt Mike Tomlin wants to deal with another aging wide receiver that's got some diva-like tendencies. Remember, he survived Antonio Brown. He had to deal with that for about 2 years, and I'm sure whatever hair he had left, he had pulled out, having to do that. So I'm not sure if Pittsburgh would do it. Obviously, the Jets, this has been circling around the internet today. Move Hassan Reddick. They need help at defensive end. Move Hassan Reddick over to the Raiders and maybe a later round pick, and trade Devontae Adams, more of a consistent player. He's played with Rodgers before. That sounds pretty idiotic, so I could think the Jets may do it. So that would be, and of course, like I mentioned, Kansas City would be ideal, but they're not going to do nothing in division. Now, if Kansas City offered me a second-round pick, if Kansas City was the only team that offered me a second-round pick, I would do it. But it depends on how much they wanted me to eat of that contract. Pickle says Adams and Justin Jefferson are competent wide receivers in the NFL. Yeah. The thing about Jefferson, though, there's about 7 years younger difference there from him and Jefferson. Says I suspect 4th round in cash. Yeah, that's probably more realistic for Adams because of his contract is so heavy in spots. That's probably more likely. 4th round and some cash. But putting him and Rodgers together, that would be interesting. And I talked about that in last week's program there, or yesterday's program, where they totally blew that game. Now, they got to go to London this Sunday, and they got to play over there. And, boy, they could use a Devontae Adams, use him in the slot. Rodgers used him anyway. That's the thing about a guy like Adams. I will say this. He played a lot of – and usually guys that are big like him, that are big playmakers, they don't usually play the slot. They play the outside. But he would play the slot, and Rodgers will throw him the ball on the 1 yard line. You've seen it, Pickles, right? He'll throw him. So that would be a good fantasy pickup if they can do that. Now, of course, that's mortgaging more of your future there for the right now when things don't really look good between Saleh and Rodgers. But I know the Jets are always out to do something idiotic like that, and they're good at making headlines, but not good at winning games long term, if you ask me. Getting a little bit late here. Pickle says he could throw to him blindfolded. It did look like it at times. It did look like those are two consistent players there for all you fantasy players here. Got a couple other topics I want to get to, and I do not want to get too far behind here since we're 43 minutes in. Let me give you my Power 5 since we've talked about this. Okay, controversial number 5. Again, this is just a snapshot of where we are right now. And I do want to take into consideration how these teams have played from last year into this year and the experience. Would I take these teams right now in the playoffs? And the Lions, I would still take the Lions right now. And they lost their center, and they still played well. Jared Goff was 18 of 18 yesterday, And number 5, I've got the Lions in my Power 5. Believe it or not, folks, the Lions are 4th in total offense, and they're 4th in rushing, by the way. They've picked up on the running game. They started running the football. They're 4th in rushing. They're 4th in total offense. The NFL sack leader is Aiden Hutchinson. So they're getting after the quarterback. They're running the ball. And I want to say they're 5th in stopping the run. So they're good. They just give up some big plays every now and then in the passing game. When you're usually up, thank you, Pickles. When you're usually up in games, you're going to give up big plays in the passing game because teams have to throw the ball on you constantly. And you'll hear more about that here in just a second here. But number 5, I got Detroit, even though they do have one loss here. Okay? Number 4. Now, I know they got blown out Sunday. They ran into a buzzsaw on a short week. That's the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, Again, Josh Allen, even leading up to that game, no sacks on Josh Allen coming into that Bills game. I do like what they've done even leading up into that game. By the way, they're still leading the AFC East. They would still be favored against just about anybody else in the AFC, and most teams against the NFC. Right now, I think they might even be favored against this banged-up Kansas City team, the way this Kansas City's playing. And mind you, they're going to get their best defensive player back. I know that Von Miller got suspended. Von Miller hadn't been doing nothing. He was a bad pickup. He got suspended the other day, or he got suspended today. Personal conduct violation, 4 games. They bring him in every other third down passing situation. He's not even playing that much. But Matt Milano's supposed to be back within a week or so. This is a all-pro level linebacker. They're supposed to get him back, okay? You still got, like I said, Allen playing at a really high level. They're going to get better, and I think that they're playing really well right now, regardless of what happened to them last night or Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens. So I got them still at number 4, although that could be a questionable type of pick there. Okay, number 3, I got Kansas City. They're still undefeated. They're still the champs. They'll find another receiver, whether it's going to be Amari Cooper with the Raiders, with Cleveland. I was talking about the Raiders, right? Whether they're going to pick up Devontae, or they'd love to get Devontae Adams. Whether they're going to get DeAndre Hopkins or whatnot, they're going to have to get another receiver. I still haven't heard no final word on Rashee Rice. But the Kansas City Chiefs at number 3, you still got Mahomes. You're still finding a way to protect Mahomes. You're still getting to the other quarterback. You still have pressure up in the middle there, but Chris Jones there. They won by 7 last week. They've still got injuries, but it's not like they're going to get their running back. And by the way, Kareem Hunt didn't look bad. He looked like the old ketchup to me, He looked like the old ketchup bottle there at about midway through the second half. So I still like that. They're going to do something. They're going to fix that problem. Kansas City, number 3. Okay, number 2. This one's very controversial because it's got 2 losses here, and that's the Ravens. The Ravens have had 600 yards rushing in the last 2 games. All right. The Ravens are the number 1 run defense in the league by like 20 yards. I mean, run the ball, stop the run. The Baltimore Ravens have done it. They have found their identity. Baltimore, Pickles. Baltimore. They have found their identity there. And again, that Raider game was more of a fluke than anything. That was getting a little bit complacent there. But remember, that Raider game, 27 yards rushing. Gardner Minshew, a couple of really good passes there at the end there. But more of a fluke than anything. They're favored against most teams. Dominated Dallas, dominated Buffalo like that. And Buffalo have been playing at a high level. I'm really impressed with what they're doing. Running the ball, stop the run, total defense. They're only going to get better in some spots. Don't know how long they're going to be able to hold up with Derrick Henry. If it's me, I add another running back on that roster at some point, whether it be through trade or whatever, or through waiver wires. Between Justice Hill and Derrick Henry, that's probably they need another between the tackles guy. They'll figure it out because they always do. So I got them at number 2 right now. That can change here, of course. That can change if they lose another game. If they lose another game and they got a losing record, I'm not going to put them that far down. But they would be in the playoffs, and they were in the AFC Championship game last year. So you got to keep that in mind. And I like what Lamar Jackson said. Hey, listen, I don't care what my stats are. As long as we get the W and we play the way we play, I'm good with that. And I think he's a very sincere young man. I got them at number 2. Now, number 1, listen, they're playing the best football. The Minnesota Vikings, if they were a college team, they would have the best resume, okay? 3 straight wins over teams that were in the playoffs last year. They've played 4 games. 4 games. They went on the road, humiliated the Giants up there in East Rutherford, New Jersey in week 1. Maybe that was a fluke. Maybe the Giants are a bad team. Then in week 2, they beat up on the Super Bowl representative out of the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers. Then they beat up on the division winner, Houston Texans, AFC South, the very next week. Last week, they go on the road with starting quarterback back, Jordan Love. At what percentage, I don't know. But all I do know is they had Green Bay down 28-0 in that game. Got a little complacent, almost blew the game, but they didn't. And listen, they lead the team in sacks. They lead the league in sacks. I want to say they lead the league in turnovers as well. Probably the best combo between Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, and then your defensive coordinator at Brian Flores in the NFL. Not to mention they don't have Aiden Hutch. They don't have T.J. Hawkinson back at tight end. They just got their second receiver, Jordan Addison, back there. So this team still has more growth to do. As of now, I've got the Vikings as the number 1 team in my Power 5. Pickles, thank you very much for putting that on the screen. I greatly appreciate that. Now, again, could this change? Could Kansas City go back to being number 1? Yes. Go out and get another receiver. Get healthy there. Get healthy at running back. Get healthy. Get your offensive line situated. Yeah, Kansas City go back to being number 1. Okay. Could Baltimore fall off if they have another silly game? Yes. I just don't believe in Pittsburgh right now. You saw them lose to arguably the worst defense in the league, both running against the run and the pass against the Indianapolis Colts. I'm still not totally convinced Washington can maintain at 3-1 this high level of play. Jaden Daniels, yes, numbers-wise, he's playing like an MVP himself. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. And, got to let that stuff play out here. The 49ers look pretty good in spots Sunday. They're getting back healthy again, slowly but surely. But still not sure if I want to put them in that Power 5 right now. And, of course, Houston looked like they struggled against Jacksonville. At times, the great, what's his name? CJ, the quarterback there for CJ Stroud with Houston. He still looks like a rookie. He still looks like a young player at times. He's not perfect all the time. He showed some mistakes there, although Nico Collins had a huge game there. And they traded Danielle Hunter, and they're still playing at a really high level, Minnesota is. Yeah, but Stroud still kind of looks like a young player at times. He doesn't quite look like the MVP candidate. So those are honorable mention teams and whatnot. That's where I am right now. Okay. So Pete Rose, I did want to comment on him. It happened at the end of the show. Just when I got off, I turned on the game and it said Pete Rose had passed away in Las Vegas last night. 83 years old. For those of you who watch his show, know that I did a show, talked about his the documentary on the guy. I talked about the documentary on Pete Rose. Over the summer on HBO, I think it's like a 3-part documentary. It's really good. There are interview roles in it. Maybe they knew he was sick. I don't know. But the cause of death, hypertension, and a $50 word with cardiovascular disease. When I see that, something with diabetes, with cardiovascular disease, the Clark County coroner's office said the manner of death was natural. So I guess that means heart attack, Pickles, to the best player best hitter of all time. Fox News reported that, he broke out with his home team, Cincinnati Reds, played 19 of 24 seasons. Think about that for a second. You grow up in Cincinnati. This is every kid's dream. I would have loved to have been a star. I'm in Nashville. You see Nashville in the background. I would love to have been a star for the Tennessee Titans growing up. The team that your hometown, you grow up in your hometown and you become the greatest player in the history of that hometown team. And the Cincinnati Reds, 19 to 24, all-time hit leader, served as an acting manager in 1963. He went on to make league history. League history was securing 3 World Series titles along the way, nicknamed Charlie Hustle for a relentless drive when on the diamond. Rose was the MVP in the 1973. In 1973, a 17-time All-Star, 3-time batting title winner, Rookie of the Year, World Series MVP. Of course, he played with Philadelphia and Montreal. So, and I've also made some notes here. Like I said last over the summer about Pete Rose was the fact that he that him and Johnny Bench never got along. I thought that was interesting. And Johnny Bench was arguably one of the greatest catchers of all time, and of course, it talks about that 1970 All-Star game with Ray Fosse, where he hurt him in the All-Star game. He was criticized for that, but it was a great play, though. I mean, it was a hustle. He treated every game like it was his last, And so it's just a few little things here. Rose was he did right by the fans the way he played. Whichever player played that way, Al Michaels says he's an action junkie, but never drank anything, was action competitive, met his wife while he was at the racetrack. So that was pretty much who he was. I think that he came to peace with his whole, with the whole not getting into Hall of Fame and lying to baseball. The commissioners and everything. If you watch this documentary, and like I said, this was done here recently. Like I said, this thing had came out. I think it was filmed in 23 last year, and they released it this past summer. So I'm sure HBO will replay this particular documentary. And he claims, he was supposedly he not yesterday but Sunday he was signing baseballs and stuff in Las Vegas. So supposedly this is his words, not mine. Now I know Rose has a tendency to lie, but he claims at the end of that documentary he hadn't gambled in about a year or so. He didn't have any more interest in gambling. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. I think he's still in the Hall of Fame as a recognizable player and his records and stuff. He just doesn't have that actual plaque, from my understanding, in the Hall of Fame. So take it however you want it. I've said the same thing from the very first time. I read a book about him. My dad gave me a book about Pete Rose about 15 years ago that he wrote. Was really good. Read it cover to cover. My coworker saw it when I was doing security. He asked me, can he read it? He read it cover to cover, and it was just a big part of his life, the whole gambling thing. It just is what it was. He was a competitive guy. He always wanted to keep the stakes high. But, a lot of the problems he did bring on himself, and he didn't have any self-control. And that's just what he was. That's it in a nutshell. And again, he would like to have been into the Hall of Fame because of the gambling stuff, but it seemed like it didn't really bother him as much at the end. But then again, maybe he was just putting on a front there, So, say he finished with 303 average. So, yeah, I I think that I wished he could have at 83. I mean, I wished he would have been on TV more talking the games. I think he had a great personality like a Barkley or a Shaq or whatnot. But, there was some controversy about that. Something to do with a lawsuit about a guy said he messed around with an underage girl. And he made a big deal and got himself in trouble. But, I think he's in one way, he's a cautionary tale in one sense. In another sense, if you're teaching a kid how to play sports and organize sports and even in life, just do it all out. If you put all the bad habits aside, and we all got our problems and vices and whatnot, that's the approach to the game that you want to have. Go all out, give it your 110% effort, whether you're a coach or player, you're doing a job that you don't want to like, but you're trying to get to another job, be the best that you possibly can at that job. And I do like that approach that he had towards the game, even though it rubbed some of his teammates the wrong way, And Pickle says he heckles Bud Selig in Denver about Pete Rose putting him in the Hall of Fame. So, and now I really do not want him to put him in the Hall of Fame, because then whoever does, the commissioner okays that, you say, well, you're a piece of crap because he wasn't living to be putting him in the Hall of Fame. So 83, I thought he still had a pretty good life. He seemed to be enjoying life all the time, and he always seemed to have a Reds hat on. So all's well ends well with the great Pete Rose. Rest in peace. I'm sure you're hanging out with other great players up there in heaven talking baseball. If you like the show, share the show. Again, folks, tomorrow, John Restano, we're going to talk about that Knicks trade and getting, all I want to say about that is Tom Thibodeau, he's hired to coach the whole team, not the 5 starters, not just he's hired to coach that whole team. He's got to develop his bench so he's not destroying his starters come playoff time. I'm going to ask John, what does he think about that? Does he think that Thibodeau is going to be able to balance these guys out? Because I do think they got the talent to can make a run at a championship. I think they're going to be that good. But we'll see how that plays out. Plus, I'm going to get his take on the Bears, Caleb Williams, and, of course, the Bills. I may even ask him an Ohio State question because I know he follows the Ohio State Buckeyes. And, of course, Thursday, folks, Ralph Williams will be on 30 minutes past the hour. We're going to go over the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers because Ralph is up in the Pittsburgh area. So, great guest coming up the next 2 days. Of course, hopefully get Mad New Yorker back on Friday and whatnot. So, have a good night, everybody. I'll see you otherwise tomorrow, same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scope.